The button that shouldn't be pushed. The spaceship Helios Dawn floated silently in deep space. It had traveled farther than any human ship before. The crew was small, just 12 people. Scientists, engineers, and one janitor named Eli Graves. Eli wasn't special. He cleaned floors, fixed pipes, and stayed out of the way. He didn't understand much about space science. But today he was about to change everything. The Helios Dawn had found something. A large, black structure floating in space. It looked like a pyramid, but it had no windows, no doors, no lights. Just cold metal. No one knew what it was or where it came from. The crew called it the Obsidian Object. Captain Reyes warned everyone, "Do not touch anything. No buttons. No panels. We observe only." But curiosity is a powerful thing. Inside the object there were strange walls, smooth and warm to the touch. Symbols lit up when someone walked by, but they didn't make sense. Not any language known to humans. Eli wasn't supposed to be inside, but while fixing a broken light near the research lab, he got curious. The door to the object was open. No one was inside. No cameras were watching. So he stepped in. It was quiet. Too quiet. He walked down a dark hallway and entered a round room with a glowing platform in the center. Floating above it was a small cube, covered in blinking lights. On the side of the cube was a single button. It wasn't labeled. It didn't beep. It just glowed red. Eli stared at it. "No one will ever know," he whispered. He pressed it. For 2 seconds, nothing happened. Then the cube made a sound like a heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, a blue light flashed across the walls. Symbols began to scroll quickly, like a countdown. The room shook. Eli panicked and ran back to the ship. "Something's happening in the object," he shouted. Captain Reyes and the crew rushed inside. But it was too late. A powerful pulse of energy shot out from the object. A silent wave that spread across space. Then, the ship's communication systems turned on by themselves. A voice, cold and mechanical, spoke in perfect English. "War protocol activated. Target species, human. Enemy level, extinction. Response inbound. Congratulations." The message repeated 3 times. Then silence. Everyone looked at Eli. "What did you do?" Captain Reyes asked, her voice trembling. I just pressed a button." Dr. Mullick, the lead scientist, ran to his computer. That artifact wasn't a ship. It was a weapon, a warning system, and we just activated it. "But who sent it?" asked Reyes. Before anyone could answer, the ship's sensors picked up something terrifying. A signal. From deep space. Coming fast. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a comet. It was something alive. The screen showed a dark shape moving faster than light. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Mullick. "No species can move like that." Another signal came through, this time in a strange language. Then it translated. "We have heard your declaration. Prepare for cleansing." Panic hit the crew. Some cried. Some prayed. Eli stood frozen. Back on Earth, satellites picked up the same signal. World leaders were confused. Was it a joke? A threat? Then, 6 hours later, the moon base lost all contact. When Earth sent drones to investigate, they found nothing but black ash. Whatever was coming had arrived. And it wasn't coming to talk. They went to explore. They went to learn. But one man's simple mistake woke up the deadliest species in the galaxy. And now, humanity must fight to survive. A war they never wanted, against an enemy they don't understand. All because of one button. For thousands of years, space was silent. No signal. No message. No life. But after Eli Graves pressed that one button, everything changed. The stars didn't get brighter, they got colder. Back on the Helios Dawn, the crew stared at the message on the screen. "We have heard your declaration. Prepare for cleansing." The ship's lights dimmed. Static buzzed in every system. It was like the universe had just opened its eyes. Dr. Mullick leaned forward and whispered, "This wasn't a mistake. It was a trap. And we just walked into it." Captain Reyes turned to Eli. Tell me exactly what you touched. I told you, it was just a button, Eli replied, voice shaking. I didn't know it would do anything. But the truth didn't matter now. The signal had been sent, and someone or something was coming. Far across the stars, in a dark part of the galaxy with no name, a planet-sized structure came alive. It was made of metal, bone, and energy. Inside, machines began to spin. Giant weapons powered up. And deep in the core of this monster, the Valkyrie woke up. The Valkyrie were not like any alien ever imagined. They had no eyes, no mouths. Their bodies were made of armor and shadows. Their minds were like networks, connected, fast, and ancient. And they were angry. They weren't a species that wanted land or resources or power. They only wanted silence. To them, new intelligent life was noise, dangerous, wild, unpredictable. When humans triggered the artifact, the Valkyrie didn't see it as a signal of life. They saw it as a declaration of war. Back on Earth, panic had already started. News channels showed the same strange message repeating across all screens. Internet went down. Satellites were being jammed. The world was confused and scared. Some thought it was a prank. Others thought it was the beginning of invasion. Military bases went on high alert. The UN held an emergency meeting. Everyone asked the same question. What's coming? But no one had an answer. 72 hours later, the first contact happened near Jupiter's moon, Ganymede. A defense satellite picked up movement. It looked like a shadow, stretching across space. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a fleet. It was a single creature, half machine, half storm, the size of a mountain. And it moved faster than anything Earth had ever seen. Ganymede's moonbase tried to send a warning. Then everything went black. When Earth's backup camera feed kicked in, the moon wasn't there anymore. It had been erased, not destroyed, not broken, just erased. Captain Reyes watched the footage from orbit and whispered, "That wasn't an attack. That was a message." Meanwhile, back on the Helios Dawn, Dr. Mullick made a horrifying discovery. The obsidian object wasn't left by accident, he explained. It's a test. A detector. Reyes frowned. A detector for what? For intelligence. For curiosity, he replied. It was watching, waiting. When Eli pressed that button, we passed the test, and failed it at the same time. What do you mean? Asked Eli. Mullick stared at him. It means they were waiting for us. They knew someday a species would grow strong enough to find that object. And when we did, it would activate their ancient systems. We didn't just find them, Reyes added. We woke them. Later that night, Eli sat alone in the dark. He stared out the window into the empty black of space. Why me? He whispered. I'm not a hero. I'm just the janitor. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. A low hum began in the walls. And then, a voice. Not over speakers, but inside his head. You are not chosen by accident. You are the key. Eli jumped up, looking around. Who said that? No answer. Just silence. But deep inside the obsidian object, something pulsed. Like a heart. Something ancient had connected to him. A new signal is received by Earth's Deep Space Center. It's brief, cold, robotic. Humanity has spoken. Your noise will now end. Your species has 10 cycles to prepare. 10 cycles? A general asks. No idea, the technician says. Could be 10 hours, 10 days, or 10 heartbeats. Everyone in the room goes quiet. Above Earth, hidden in the stars, something begins to move. They thought they were alone in the galaxy. They were wrong. And worse, the enemy wasn't coming. The enemy had been watching, waiting, listening, and now it was awake. Eli Graves was no longer just a janitor. Something had changed inside him. Ever since he pressed that button, ever since he heard that voice, he wasn't the same. At night, he didn't sleep. Instead, he saw things. Not dreams, visions. He saw fire raining from the sky. He saw cities on Earth turning to ash. He saw himself standing in the middle of it all. Alive, unburned, changed. On board the Helios Dawn, Dr. Mullick noticed it first. Eli's brainwaves are off the charts, he told Captain Reyes. He's processing information faster than anyone I've ever seen. Reyes crossed her arms. Why him? What's happening to him? I think the artifact did more than send a signal, Malik said. I think it connected to him. Back in the lab, Eli stared at the floating alien cube, the one he had activated. Its lights pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Suddenly, it opened, not with a key, not with force, but simply because Eli wanted it to. Inside, strange blue crystals glowed like tiny stars. Lines of code hovered in the air, spinning around him. He could read them. He didn't know how, but he could understand alien language now. And worse, he could feel it learning from him, too. On Earth, strange things were happening. People started reporting static in their heads, voices, whispers in unknown languages. A few scientists studying pieces of the alien signal began writing strange symbols in their sleep. One of them looked into the mirror and said only 2 words before collapsing. We're changing. Back on the Helios Dawn, Eli was being watched. Not just by the crew, but by something else. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of a world that didn't exist anymore. Planet made of machines. A sky full of red moons. Towers that reached beyond the clouds. And something standing at the center. Tall, glowing, silent. It wasn't Valkyrie. It was older. You are not the first, a voice whispered in his mind. But you may be the last. Captain Reyes ordered a full quarantine. Eli may be infected. I want him off the bridge. No access to systems. But it was already too late. When the ship's AI locked Eli's cabin door, the lock simply melted away. He walked out, calm, focused. And when the security team tried to stop him, their weapons froze in midair. No shots fired. Just silence. And Eli standing still, glowing faintly blue. Dr. Malik was the only one brave enough to speak. What are you? I don't know, Eli said. But I think I'm becoming what they feared. Feared? Malik asked. Eli nodded slowly. The Valkyrie. They weren't trying to destroy us. They were trying to stop us from becoming this. He looked down at his hands. His skin flickered like pixels under water. I wasn't chosen because I'm special, he said. I was chosen because I was ordinary. Easy to change. Easy to copy. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Valkyrie Council gathered. Their voices were like thunder, carried across machines. The signal has been received. The human is transforming. The artifact is unlocking. The path is open. Begin Phase 2. A massive armada began to move, but not toward Earth. Toward the artifact. They didn't want to conquer it. They wanted to erase it, and everything it touched. Back on the Helios Dawn, Eli began drawing on the walls. No one told him to. He just knew. Lines, symbols, star paths, codes. The more he drew, the more the ship responded. Doors opened. Shields turned on. Weapons activated that no one knew were even installed. Captain Reyes watched in silence. He's not just learning the technology. He's rewriting it. Malik swallowed hard. He's not human anymore. Reyes shook her head. No, she said. He's something new. And we made him. Eli stood alone in the airlock, staring out into the stars. He whispered. They wanted to stop the noise. But we've become something louder. Behind him, the artifact glowed. And deep in the shadows of space, something ancient began to awaken in response. Not Valkyrie. Not human. Something worse. One button started a war. But what grew from it was something the galaxy was never ready for. A mistake was made. Not in waking the enemy, but in turning a human into something more terrifying than all of them combined. The first attack should have ended Earth in seconds. But it didn't. And that was a mistake the Valkyrie would never make again. A single Valkyrie destroyer entered Earth's orbit, silent, invisible, unstoppable. It aimed its weapon at New York and fired, but the beam never reached the ground. Instead, it shattered midair, stopped by something no one understood. A glowing circular shield, made from Eli's drawings. Eli wasn't on Earth anymore. He was aboard Helios Dawn, orbiting above the planet, surrounded by holograms, machines, and ancient alien symbols. He didn't eat. He didn't sleep. He just worked, writing code with his mind, creating defense systems with nothing but thought. Dr. Mullick watched from behind a security screen. "He's not building weapons," he said. Captain Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Then what's he doing?" "He's building evolution." The artifact, the strange black cube Eli had activated weeks ago, was now fully awake. It floated beside him at all times, spinning, humming, whispering. It didn't speak in words anymore. It showed him images, worlds burned by war, civilizations erased by fear, and then blueprints, weapons, shields, engines, things no human had ever imagined. And now Eli understood them like a child understands toys. Earth's leaders didn't trust him. "How do we know he's still one of us?" the president asked. "Because we're still alive," Reyes replied coldly. "And if he wanted us dead, we'd already be gone." Humanity began to change. Using Eli's new designs, factories on Earth built their first interstellar warship in 11 hours. It could cloak, teleport short distances, and fire plasma that could melt steel in space. They named it the Roar of Earth, and it was just the first of many. Eli wasn't alone anymore. Others had touched the artifact. Pilot in Brazil, a scientist in India, a child in Nairobi. They all saw symbols in their dreams. They all began drawing the same lines. Humanity wasn't just defending itself. It was transforming. But transformation came at a cost. Some people couldn't handle the visions. They screamed about stars falling and oceans boiling. Some went missing. Others simply stopped moving. "Too much information," Dr. Mullick explained. Their minds couldn't hold it. Eli didn't say anything. He just stared out the window into the stars. "They'll try again soon," he whispered. "How do you know?" Reyes asked. "Because Earth survived," he said. "And that makes us a problem." In a dark part of the galaxy, the Valkyrie command ship adjusted its path. Not toward Earth, but toward Mars. They had detected something growing underground. A signal born from the artifact's energy. Not created by humans. Created by the artifact itself. A seed. A second one. If it was allowed to grow, Earth wouldn't be the only voice in the galaxy. There would be many. The Valkyrie could not allow that. Mars base received one last message before going silent. "They're not building a ship. They're building a god." Back on the Helios Dawn, Captain Reyes gave Eli one final warning. "If you turn on us, we won't hesitate." Eli didn't flinch. "You won't have time." He turned toward the stars, and his eyes glowed blue. "You think Earth is the center of everything," he said. "But Earth is just the start." Earth sends out a new message, the first human broadcast into deep space using Eli's tech. It says, "To all intelligent life, we were quiet once, but now we've learned. If you come for us, know that Earth is not enough. We are already beyond." The signal spreads, and somewhere, in the deep cold dark, something ancient hears it, and smiles. "They came to silence us, but we learned to scream." What started as a warning has become a wave. Humanity is rising, not to survive, but to evolve. And Earth is no longer their only home. There is a place between galaxies. No stars, no planets, no sound, just cold, empty space. The ancients called it the void. And now it was about to become a battlefield. The Helios Dawn floated near the edge of it, dark, silent, ready. Earth's new fleet had arrived. 7 warships, all built in weeks using Eli's alien technology. Each ship could move faster than light. Each one could cloak, heal itself, and destroy a mountain with one shot. They were beautiful, but they were also untested. And today they would face the Valkyrie. Eli stood at the center of the command deck, eyes glowing with quiet energy. He didn't wear a suit anymore. His body was changing. Glowing lines across his arms, pulses of light under his skin. "Are you ready for this?" Captain Reyes asked him. "I don't think we ever were," Eli said softly. "But the question is, Are they? Suddenly, alarms flashed. Dozens of objects had entered the void. Not ships. Beasts. The Valkyrie didn't build metal. They built living machines. Each one shaped like something out of a nightmare, wings of blades, skin of fire, bodies that moved like storms. They didn't come in silence. They came with a song, a deep humming sound that echoed through space. A death song. The first shots were fired. Human ships moved like nothing ever seen before. They danced around enemy fire. Shields flickered. Plasma cannons screamed. And one by one, Valkyrie beasts exploded. It was working. Humanity was fighting back and winning. For the first 10 minutes. Then, everything changed. A shadow entered the void. Not a ship. Not a beast. But something ancient. Huge. Silent. The Warden. It wasn't part of the Valkyrie army. It was something they had buried long ago. A protector. A final weapon. His eyes opened, and time slowed. Literally. Ships froze. Voices stuttered. Eli dropped to his knees, clutching his head. This is not just war, the voice said inside him. This is correction. Inside his mind, Eli saw visions, hundreds of versions of himself. In one, he ruled Earth like a god. In another, he was hunted by his own people. And in one, he stood alone in space, his hand raised toward Earth. And the planet burned. Back in reality, the Warden charged its core. But Eli stood up, slowly, shakily, and raised one hand. Every human ship lit up in response. And then, something no one expected happened. The Warden stopped, not from fear, from recognition. It saw Eli, and bowed. The battlefield went silent. Even the Valkyrie froze. Captain Reyes whispered, "Why did it stop?" Dr. Mullick stared at Eli. It sees him as one of its own. But Eli wasn't smiling. He was pale, sweating. "They weren't here to destroy us," he said. "They were here to stop this from happening." "To stop you?" Reyes asked. "No," Eli replied. "To stop what I could become." Suddenly, his body flickered, not from damage, but from too much power. The artifact at his side glowed bright white, pulsing like a heartbeat. "You are becoming the center," a voice whispered in his head. "The universe does not like centers. It will crush them." The Warden turned. It sent one last message, not to the ships, but to the stars. The path is open. The human is ascending. Balance must be restored. Awaken the first ones. Then it vanished, not destroyed, not defeated. It simply disappeared. Earth's fleet limped home. 2 ships lost, for badly damaged. But humanity had won something bigger than a battle. They had survived the void, and the enemy had stepped back. But Eli's face told a different story. This wasn't victory. This was warning. Final scene, quiet moment. Eli sat alone in the artifact chamber, hands shaking. He looked at a small photo, him and his dog years ago on Earth. So human, so far away now. He whispered, "Am I still me?" And the artifact pulsed once, then whispered back, "Not for long." They faced the darkness and didn't die. But victory has a price. Eli is no longer just human. And what's waking now isn't coming to destroy. It's coming to stop what he might become. There was a time when the Valkyrie didn't fear anything. They burned stars. They crushed empires. They silenced civilizations before they could even speak. But now, they were afraid. And their fear had a name. The first ones. On board the Helios Dawn, Eli sat alone, eyes closed. He didn't need sleep anymore. His body had changed. His mind was no longer just human. He could hear signals from light years away. He could read gravity like a book. And now he felt something cold moving across the stars. Slow, old, and hungry. Captain Reyes stormed into the command room. "We just received a message," she said. Dr. Mullick looked up. "From Earth." She shook her head. "From the Valkyrie." Everyone froze. The message wasn't a threat. It was an offer. A voice, deep and emotionless, echoed through the ship. "We do not seek peace. We seek balance. You have awakened something older than us. We cannot defeat it alone. You must choose. Die with US or fight beside US. Reyes scoffed. After all they've done, now they want help? Malik spoke softly. If the Varkari are afraid, we should be terrified. Eli said nothing. He walked to the window and stared into the stars. They're not lying, he said. The first ones are coming. And they don't care about humans, or Varkari, or anything made of flesh. Reyes stepped forward. Then what do they want? Eli turned to her. Silence, he said. Forever. Flashback vision. Eli collapsed suddenly, the artifact pulsed bright. Inside his mind, he saw flashes of a lost galaxy. Time before war. Before language. Before memory. He saw giants, not made of metal or bone, but ideas given shape. The first ones didn't conquer. They consumed time, erased history, rewrote existence. They didn't just destroy worlds. They unmade reality. Back on the Helios dawn, Eli woke up gasping. They didn't just sleep, he said. They were locked away. By who? Reyes asked. By the Varkari, Eli answered. The monsters we feared were the prison guards. Now the prison was cracking, and the guards were asking for help. A secret meeting was held on the dark side of Saturn. 3 Varkari emissaries arrived, tall, silent, wearing cloaks of black energy. One of them spoke in a language that hurt to hear. Eli replied in perfect tone. They didn't bow. He didn't flinch. They stared at each other like mirrors. Why him? Reyes whispered to Malik. Because he's not just human anymore, Malik answered. He's the bridge between species now. The alliance was made in silence. No handshake. No treaty. Just one agreement. If the first ones wake fully, no one survives. Preparations began. Human ships fused with Varkari technology. Weapons that could bend light, create gravity spikes, and freeze time for 6 seconds. Together, they began building something massive. Not a fleet, not a weapon, but a trap. Large enough to hold a star, strong enough to bind a god. The trap was to be placed in the heart of the void. And Eli was the key. Only he could activate it. Only he could bait them. Because the first ones weren't coming for humanity. They were coming for him. Reyes pulled Eli aside before launch. If you do this, if you stand in front of them, I won't come back, Eli said. She didn't argue. She just looked at him. This glowing, half-human, half-something else being, and whispered, You were just a janitor. Eli smiled softly. I still am, he said. Just cleaning up a bigger mess. The trap is almost ready. Varkari ships circle it like ancient guardians. Human engineers finish the last circuits. And Eli steps into the center where reality is thinnest. He feels the pressure building. He knows what's coming. And somewhere, in the cold of unlit space, a crack opens. And something older than memory begins to move. The monsters we feared are now our shield. Because something worse is waking. Something that doesn't destroy worlds. It erases them. And the only thing standing in its way is the man who made the first mistake. No stars lived here. No planets. No light. Just a black place in space where even gravity refused to stay. This was the heart of the void, and now it was humanity's last hope. The trap was ready. A sphere the size of a small moon, filled with time-warped metal, Varkari tech, and human code written by a man who wasn't just a man anymore. Eli Graves stood at its center. His skin pulsed with light. His voice echoed in strange rhythms. He no longer breathed air. He breathed energy. He was becoming something else. Something the universe didn't plan for. The combined human Varkari fleet stood in orbit, engines hot, weapons primed. Captain Reyes watched from her ship, the roar of Earth, hands tight behind her back. He's in position, her second officer said. Then we wait, Reyes whispered, and pray. In the cold distance, the first ones arrived. Not ships, not creatures, concepts made flesh. One was shaped like a hand holding a broken clock. Another looked like a planet made of mouths. They did not speak. They remembered, and that was enough to crack space around them. Eli felt them before anyone saw them. not as shapes, but as truths. They were not evil. They were not angry. They were balance, pure, cold correction. And they had come for him. Inside the trap, time slowed. Eli stepped forward, and the first ones stopped. For the first time in eons, they hesitated. They saw him, a life form born from chaos, evolved through fear, fused with forbidden knowledge. He wasn't human anymore, but he wasn't one of them either. He was new, and the universe does not allow new to exist without cost. Suddenly, the first ones attacked, not with fire or weapons but with memory. Eli was flooded with visions, a version of him that destroyed Earth, a version that ruled the stars with a machine army, a version that begged for death and was never given it. Each future more terrifying than the last, each one a warning, but Eli didn't break. He looked at them and whispered, "You want silence, but silence is just the sound of fear winning. I am not afraid." He activated the trap. The void collapsed inward. Time folded. Reality screamed. The first ones were caught, not destroyed, not killed. Paused. Held in a stasis loop made from their own forgotten logic. It was working, but there was a cost. The energy began to burn through Eli. His skin cracked. His eyes dimmed. The artifact at his side shattered. Captain Reyes shouted through comms, "Eli, get out of there." He smiled. "You told me I was just a janitor, so I'm cleaning up the mess." And then, with one final breath, he did the impossible. He rewrote the trap, to hold him to. The light folded in, and Eli Graves was gone. 1 year later, Earth rebuilt. The Valkyrie left, silent, watchful, never returning. Human technology had changed forever. Ships now moved through space like wind through water. Disease was nearly gone, and dreams had become shared. Some people claimed to still hear Eli's voice in the stars. Some said he was alive inside the trap, thinking, waiting. In a quiet lab on Mars, a young girl drew circles on a wall. Blue ones, symbols no one taught her. When asked where she learned them, she only smiled. "He showed me," she said. "In my dream, he was just a man, curious, ordinary, but he touched something ancient and became the echo the universe could never silence." They tried to erase him, but they forgot one thing. You can't silence the species that learned how to shout back. You wanted war? Congratulations. You just declared it on humanity.